Sorry, Kemi, if you don't mind. I just set up the YouTube live stream. So we're also having this on YouTube so that once we end this session, we can
Right.
immediately live stream we can immediately get the link from YouTube and then share to people who have been asking for the recording of the class. So we
Okay,
could
sure.
just do a brief recap. Yeah, so like I said earlier, I'm Oluwabami Shamolasho, I'm a medical doctor, and then transitioning into or looking to transition into cloud DevOps engineering in particular, because I seem to enjoy the coding aspect of it a little more. So welcome everyone. This is Nextwork Lagos community. Nextwork is the mother community where we learn cloud, build our cloud portfolio by working on projects. And that's the opportunity that has been open to everyone. And I believe that most of us here have been, beneficiaries have had opportunities to work on projects. And together with Kemisola, we're serving as the Nextwork Community Lagos um, technical leads. And then we have been able to put this together last month, and then the second one is this month, working on the DevOps series. It's a really interesting series where at the end you get to deploy your project, you get to do CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. You are working with GitHub, you are connecting it to your AWS as you're making your changes. In fact, along the way, you get to use CloudFormation as well. By the time you start using CloudFormation, in fact, you love using the cloud. The automation process is so cool. So it's a 7 series project. We are just on project 2. We hope to cover all the projects in the series along the line, and then you get to build your project portfolio. For those of us that are just starting, would encourage you to hop over to Nextwork community page and sign up so you can start learning and then start writing about your work, writing your documentation, and then building your portfolio alongside. So that's the good thing for us all. So, Kemisola, please come again.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kemi Sola, and I'm coming from a technical CRM manager background. I'm also transitioning into cloud computing. Together with Bamishi, we've written like over 20 cloud engineering projects. And since we are all new, we just thought to share with people so that we all can relate and start from where we are starting from. So this is our first project this year, but we've written one cloud engineering project last year. That was, I think I forgot the project, but we have it on Nextwork community. So for those who are
Set up
looking
a
forward to
web
build
app
their
on AWS.
on AWS, yes. So for those people who are looking forward to build projects, you are looking forward to share your portfolio, you want put yourself out there on all different platforms, please move on to Nextwork community, and it's absolutely free. Like free, you are not paying for anything, you are writing projects. All we are begging you guys to do is just to make sure you delete all your resources on AWS so that you don't get charged. Once you finish your project, of course, you're going to document it. Then once you're done, delete everything. You won't be charged. And the community is a great place because you get to share questions, any complaint, any inquiry. People are there. They're ready to respond to you. Thank you for joining.
Okay, thank you very much, Kemisola. So just for us to see the Nextwork page, this is Nextwork, the home page. So the mission and the vision of Nextwork and what we do. And it's they try to provide a learning platform where you learn by doing. Most times then people just learn by watching, but this time you're learning and then you're building things yourself, and that's the beauty of it with Nextwork. So for those of us that are new here, you can always go onto this site, www.nextwork.org, click Start Learning, and then you can create your account and log in. I'm already logged in, that's why it's going straight to the home page like this. All right. So like one of maybe some people who want to talk, you can unmute and introduce yourself. I have Adetola here, Blaze, Daniel, Eboluwa, Good Luck, Lawal, Kene, um, Olabi, Samuel, Japhet, Afulami, Oloyede. So you're all welcome to the group. We just want one or two people to unmute, speak to us, tell us about your cloud journey, how you found Nextwork, or how you joined the group. We'd love to hear from you. All right, Adetola, your hand is raised. You can unmute and speak.
Good evening. Please, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for organizing this program. My name is Aditola,
Yes, we can hear you.
and okay, so I'm not so new to the cloud, though I've AWS a few times, and I've taken my CCP exam on AWS. But then I just want to start taking personal projects. I did my first project on Nextwork just yesterday, and I'm currently working on my second one. But then I'm not interested in programming. So I don't know, is this meeting really for me? I'm aspiring to become probably a cloud administrator and maybe in the future a cloud architect, but I really do not want to code. So I don't know,
Okay.
am I in the right place?
Yes, you're definitely in the right place. You're
All right,
definitely in the
thank
right
you.
place. Most of what you do in the cloud doesn't entirely involve, well, depending on where you are, just like you said. But what you are going to be doing literally really does not involve as much code as you think. Because by the time when you start, you're working with your management console, but later on you start using your terminal to work, where you're just basically using automations basically to drive your code and all that. So along the line, it's easier. But then, like you said, you've already done like a certification, and then you need to start building projects. So by having more interactions with the interface, especially since we're focused on AWS here, there are other cloud providers that we know. By having more interactions with the interface, you get to know how everything works. And I think the knowledge is also valuable for you. What do you think?
All right, thank you so much. I will stick around. I'll stick around.
All
Thank
right.
you.
It's good. It's good to have you here. Okay. Another person that would like to speak before we start. You can just raise your hand. All right. So I hope we can all hear me. So we'll continue. So in our last project, we did, I can just show us here. In our last project, we started the DevOps series. We set up a web app in the cloud. And then today we are going to connect our GitHub repo with AWS. Now there's a cloud IDE called Cloud9 that has actually been deprecated for new users. So for majority of us who are just creating our accounts and will not be able to use the Cloud9 IDE, rather you would be using an IDE that you install on your local computer, which is VS Code. I already put some instructions on the group page for people who want to practice along. And I would advise you practice along. You can just set up your system, set up your VS Code. You have, by now, I believe you have created your AWS account, and you've created your IAM user. So we'll just be doing a walkthrough side by side using the Nextwork platform. We'll be using the iTouch. iTouch, so there's no touch where you have very little to no guide at all. They're just telling you the steps to follow and you just know what to do. There's low touch that has some guidance, and then there's high touch that is a detailed instruction. So I know some of us here might be experts already, but for the purpose of those who are probably new to this, we'll be going through the high touch. And then Network also provides the opportunity to write your documentation while you're practicing. So there are questions that are already set up for you to answer. and then at the end of the project, you can just export your documentation and then post it on LinkedIn or any other platform that you use. So we'll be skipping this step one, because I'm assuming everyone has set up their IAM user. And the next step would be to set up our web app in the cloud. So for us to just understand what we're doing so far, we are trying to deploy a web application. And now the way we are doing it is the first thing is you are looking at your development environment. So that is what we are setting up at the moment. So by the time we are done doing our development environment, we will now move to our code deployment, where we move into production, the production environment. So in those, we'll be using like two separate EC2 instances, one to do our development, the other for our production. But we've not yet got into production yet. I think production will be like in project 5, when we are doing our code deploy, code build, code deploy, and then, but for now we are still on the development environment, and we want to connect our EC2 instance to using VS Code to GitHub. So GitHub is where we are going to host our files, and then we'll be able to do our continuous integration, continuous deployment. You can always push updates to your code to your GitHub, and always interact with it easily. So that's basically what we're doing today. So the first thing is we want to launch an EC2 instance. I hope you can all see my screen. So the first thing, you just go to launch instance, you search Amazon EC2. So that's where we are right now. So you search for Amazon EC2, you open it, then you click instances. So now we want to create our web app. So we can just use, let's just do, since this community is primarily for Nextwork Lagos, so we can do Lagos, Nextwork Lagos web app. All right. So you give your EC2 instance, that's Elastic Compute Cloud. So EC2 is like your virtual server, or like your virtual computer. So you use these virtual servers to host our application, right? And that's why we need EC2. So you need your application OS images. So we're using Linux. And then because we want to stay within the free tier, so we're using the Amazon Linux 2023 Amazon machine image. Then your instance type, we have to use the free tier eligible one, which is T2 micro. Then you create your key pair. So your key pair is what you are going to use to connect to your EC2 instance in a secure way from your VS Code terminal. So that's how we need to create our key pair. So you just simply click create new key pair. You can just name this Lagos Nextwork Lagos key pair. Okay, then you choose the key pair type, which is RSA, a form of encryption, and then the private key file format to be .pem. So you select create key pair. So this would prompt you to save it to your local computer. So I'm saving it to, I have one here already, so I can just delete this. All right, so we save this here. All right. Then next is your network settings. So we already have our VPC, which is our virtual private cloud. Then we'll create a new security group, and then allow SSH traffic from. So this is what you use to connect to your SSH is secure shell. It helps you connect to your instance from your terminal. So because we are trying to apply some level of security, we don't want it open such that anybody can have access. You can change this to my IP. And if you don't know your IP address, you can always go online and search what is my IP, but there's a simple one that we have here, check ip.amazonaws.com. So this shows my IP, and then I'm able to use this for the project. So along the line, sometimes your IP address might change. You will need to make some updates to your security groups, but that will come in later when we have, maybe if you experience any bugs along the line, we might want to work on that. So this is just to set up and launch your EC2 instance. So we are just following this step by step, basically. So we've launched our instance, and the next thing is setting up our VS Code. So by now, everyone has installed their VS Code, I believe, and then we'll continue. So I'll launch my VS Code here as well. All right. So now in our VS Code terminal, we want to connect to our EC2 instance. All right. So you select create new terminal. So in our VS Code, we want to connect to our EC2 instance. Just a minute. I had the remote connection set up earlier. All right. Good. So now we want to connect to our EC2 instance. First thing is to go to the folder where you have, or go to the directory where you downloaded your key pair. So for me, that directory is different. So you use CD, which means change directory, and then space, this double dot takes you, backwards. Then you can use ls to list all the files or all the folders that are present in your C directory. This is for me. I have mine on my desktop. Then I can think is in Nextwork, and then this will be in Lagos for me. Then ls, then cd. Okay. All right, so we can see the Nextwork key pair, which is just here, the one I just downloaded. So the first thing is you want to change the permission settings on this key pair. Okay, so while you are doing that, because I'm using a Windows system, you'll be using this ICACLS, which is Integrity Control Access Control List. This is what you are going to use to work on your key pair. Okay, so we have this and change the permissions. So first you reset this. Okay, then you want to grant your user access, singular access to this key pair. So for those of you that might not know the user on your system, you just type who am I. Okay, you can see this first part is the name of your PC, and this second part is the user on your PC, and that is what you are going to use. So you simply type ICACLS and then Nextwork key pair, then grant R, then you type in your username. Okay, and then ICACLS again, your key pair, and then inheritance R. So that third line of code ensures that if there's any change to the to the folder, to the permissions of the folder. It's not going to affect your key pair. And once you have your key pair locked in, it's easier for you to now connect to your EC2 instance. If you don't do this step, by the time you are trying to connect to your EC2 instance, AWS is not going to connect it because it's tell you permission denied, that the key pair is too open and is susceptible to attacks. So you need to do this step first. For Linux, for those using Mac OS, if you check this file, you will see there's a different code that you will use to connect to your EC2 instance. So to make our connection, the first thing you need is to get your public IPv4 DNS address for your instance. So this is the instance. You select it. At the bottom here, you see details. Then you click public IPv4 DNS. Then you come down here, and then you type in this SSH. So this is, remember when we were setting up our instance, we selected SSH. So you're using Secure Shell, and then you put in your key pair. So once you type in, if you're already in that folder where your key pair is, and then you type in next, by the time you press tab, it would automatically fill in the other info, the key pair name. You can just keep pressing tab to change it till you get to what you're looking for. Then you type in your user, ec2-user at, so we paste that user here. Then we continue what we're doing, okay? So it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to continue connecting? Then you type in yes. Now, warning permanently added, and then we can see that we are now connected to our EC2 instance. So anything we're doing here, we are automatically adding it to our instance on the console. So now we'll be working through this terminal, and this is where most of our work will continue. Okay, so we just covered all these steps right now. Then the next thing is we want to build our web app, but we need certain things to help us build that web app. Okay, and to build this web app, we need Apache Maven, and it's a Java web app, and the version of Java we're using is Amazon Corretto 8. Okay, so the first thing is you want to get the Apache Maven, so which is this. So you just copy this. That's what that line of code does. So we are downloading it from the web. So we've gotten it, but we've gotten it as a zip file. So many of us are used to .zip, but there's also the .tar, which is for very large files. So then we're using this line of code as well. So you paste that into your terminal. So sudo is super user do. It's a Linux command that we're using. So we are extracting the Apache Maven that we just downloaded, and we are putting it in this folder called OPT. Then the next thing is this line of code is called, it's like a pathfinder. We are telling our computer where to find this Maven anytime we need it. And then we're using this line of code, this source bash rc to so that anytime we find this, we can work with it immediately. We find the Apache Maven. So that's the purpose of all this. So once you have this all set up, you can check and verify that you have installed Maven. What you type is mvn-v. -v means version. So you are checking for the version of Maven. So once you have this, okay, you have a response already. So Apache Maven show you where it is. Then we'll continue. Okay, we want to install Java 8. That's Amazon Corretto 8. So we start with this first line of code, very similar to what we just did before. Paste that. Okay, I think we have some comments. Okay, good evening. So I don't know if we have any questions so far. If anyone is following, I have any issues with your connection to your EC2 instance, and let us know and we'll address it right away. All right, so that's complete. Then this one too, we are setting our path. Okay. and then this third line of code as well. Awesome. So we have that installed. We can check for both Maven, and then we have Java. So we can see now that we've installed Maven, which is like our package manager, and Java. So we'll use this to build our web app, and that's the next step that we are going into. Okay. And to build our web app, yes, the link is available on, okay, I can post it in the group chat. All right, so to build your web app, you are going to use this Maven, this line of code here. We can just break it down. What does it mean? So your archetype generate is the command that specifically tells Maven to create a new project from a template. Okay, and the other aspect of it, so the artifact ID names your project. The artifact ID, the archetype web app, specifies that you're creating a web application, and then that's what we're using to create our web app, and we'll see that shortly. So you have this, then we are waiting for it to build. At the end of the build, we should see a build success. Then you know that you have set up your web app, and we can check what's there. So when you type in ls, you can see the web app already installed. So we can go into the web app and see what's in it. So we did cd Nextwork web project. Then we are now, you can see that before we were in the root directory here, but now you can see we are now in the Nextwork web projects directory. So ls will list the files that are there. Then we open it, you can see we have this pom.xml and src, which contains the web app and the resources for your web app as well. So that's the first step. So we have our web app. The next thing is you want to find a way to interact with. You can make your changes to your, let's say you want to go into the src file and see what is there. Okay, you can see there's main. We can go into main. Okay, and then ls, we see resources and web app. We can go into the web app, and then ls. So we can see this web, this folder, and then there's the index.jsp file. Let's see what's inside this index.jsp file. You can use this command called cat, and then do index.jsp. So you can see this HTML is just like the JavaScript file, the body, hello world, and that. So we can make edits or changes to this directly in the terminal by simply using either a Vim editor or Nano editor, or we can integrate it in such a way that we can edit it directly from VS Code without having to use any of these terminal editors like Vim or Nano. So, and to do that, you are going to use remote SSH. With remote SSH here, you can connect your VS Code directly to your EC2 instance, and then you can edit your web app files easily and make any changes, make any updates that you want. So to do that, if you have not installed remote SSH, all you have to do is come here to this side. You can see extensions. Click extensions, and then at the top here, search for remote SSH. Then you install this remote SSH. Click it, it will open here, then click install. When you install it, at the left corner here, you can see this symbol, okay, like a greater than and less than. All right, then you click this. This is what you use to, yes, I'm working with Linux commands. I'm using VS Code, although I'm using a Windows laptop at the moment, and then the codes are formatted for Windows, but our EC2 instance, by the time you connect to your EC2 instance, the EC2 instance is a Linux-based instance. So we have to use our Linux codes to work with it. So Now we are trying to do remote SSH to our EC2 instance. And how do you do that? You click connect to host, okay? And to connect to your host, you need to configure a new host. So you select add new host at the bottom. I've connected to several instances. I should have deleted them, but they're all here. So you click add new SSH host, okay? Then with that open, you want to set this up. So the same way we connected to our EC2 instance through our terminal, we'll use that same method to connect through remote SSH. So you do SSH-I. Now we need our key pair. Before we were in the directory where our key pair was, but now because we are not in that directory, we need to go and copy the path of our key pair. So you go to your folder where you downloaded your key pair to. I hope everyone is following. Where you downloaded your key pair and look for that key pair. So this is the key pair, right? At the top here, you can see copy path. If you don't see copy path on your system, there's no problem. All you have to do is click here. You can see the path and just copy it from there. So you copy the path, okay? Then come here, we have SSH-I. Then you paste this, okay? Remove the quotation marks, okay? Because I copied the path, the key pair is already there. But if you copied it through the other method I just showed you, if you can't find copy path and you click here, you can see this. It doesn't have the key pair name. So by the time you post it here, you have to add the name of your key pair to it, okay? So that's what we're following. So now your key pair is set up. The next thing is putting your EC2 username, okay? So you have EC2-user at, so we want to copy our DNS address, which is here, okay? So you copy this, your public IPv4 DNS, then come back to VS Code and paste, okay? Then just type in enter. So now the first thing is to set up your config file. You open this config file. You have to follow this step by step because if you miss any step, you have issues with your connectivity. So you open this config file. Before you click connect, the first thing is to click open config. Once you click open config, you can see your config file here. There are some things missing. This is the EC2 instance, the IPv4 DNS address. We need to add the backward slashes that indicate it's a path. So the first place, from my C directory to desktop folder, to my Nextwork folder, to my Lagos folder, then Nextwork key pair lagos.pm. So once you make these edits, make sure you save this file, okay? Come to file, click save, or you press Ctrl S, anyone is fine. Then you can come back to this remote SSH window, open this again, and then click connect to host. So once you've clicked connect to host, all right, so once you click connect to host, so the SSH address, the IPv4 address we just put in is already here. So EC20027, so you open this, then you wait for, you have a new terminal, okay? The remote SSH terminal, you wait for it to open. Now you see this prompt telling you Linux, Windows, Mac OS. Remember, our EC2 instance is Linux based. So you open Linux, then you should see a prompt that says you are logged in, okay? So it's setting up the SSH host. Now you can see downloading VS Code server. You might get a prompt that says, do you trust the authors and all that? Just click yes, you trust the authors, all right? So now we'll set up our VS Code. So you can click open folder. So now we are connected to, at the bottom here, you can see SSH and your EC2 instance IPv4 address, okay? So this means we are now connected to our EC2 instance directly through remote SSH, okay? And this is the web app that we just created using Apache, Maven, and then Java. Okay, so you can click OK to open this web app. Now you can see the way the interface is very different from what we have here. Let me just put these two side by side. Okay. So we are waiting for it to load here. You can see it's still loading a little on the side. So now we are in the remote folder. We can see the SRC file. The same thing we did here, opening, using working programmatically to go into the files. Here we just have to click, like I said, so when you see this prompt, just click yes, I trust the authors. So before we had to be doing change directory, SRC, change directory resources, change directory web app, and all that. So I can go directly into my web app. I can open that index.jsp file directly instead of having to walk through the terminal. I can just open the file directly and make my edits here easily. I can just update this and say let me put some. Okay. This is my Nextwork web app. Okay. So just as simple as this, then Control S to save your work. Now we'll set up our web app. Congratulations. We've connected our web app to GitHub, which is also great. The next step is to set up your GitHub account and connect directly to your GitHub account. Okay. You can also connect your terminal directly from your remote SSH. Just click terminal and then it opens directly. You don't need to do SSH and all that into your account again. So because you're already connected via remote SSH. Yes. So someone is asking in the comment section, is the web app instance accessible to the public? We are setting it up in a public subnet. So we are using a public subnet, number one. We are also using a public, we're using our IP address, but the connection, we're using SSH, which is like a secure shell. And then we also have our key pair as well. So when we're setting up our security group, when we're setting up our instance for the security group, we only set the rule, our inbound rule, to connect to our IP. Only my IP can connect to this EC2 instance. If I used connect to anywhere, I can show you directly here. Okay, so let me open this instance and go to security, and then you can look at security groups. You can see the inbound rule. Okay, it's only connected to my IP address, which is this. Okay, on this port and then through this protocol. So that's the added security layer that we are implementing for setting up this web app. If we had used connect anywhere, okay, we can probably send the connection details to another person. They can also try to SSH onto this instance. So moving on, we want to set up and connect to GitHub. Yeah, we want to set up and connect to GitHub, so we don't remote SSH, which is great. So you want to create your repository in GitHub. So the first thing is you have to install Git. You have to install Git on your EC2 instance through the terminal, through your remote SSH that you now have. So you set that up, then we can just type in these commands, copy this command. So there are two commands joined together here. So you just make sure you stop at -y, okay? Then you paste that. So this is just a command to update all our files, all our apps, and then the dependencies as well before we go ahead to update to install Git. So you use this code, this line of code to install Git. So the -y is like yes, so that if we have any reason for authentication, it can just install directly. Okay, so now we've installed Git. The next step is, okay, you can check your Git version. All right. Then the next step is set up your GitHub account. So I already dropped a link on the WhatsApp page for everyone to create their GitHub account. If you're new to GitHub, you can just check through. Okay. So you log into GitHub. So this is my GitHub account. We'll create a new repository. Okay. I have this block in here. Okay. So now we are going to create a new repository. So I can go to my your repositories and then just select new. Okay. So now we want to create a new repository. We can call this Lagos Nextwork Lagos. Nextwork Lagos web app. Okay, so it's available. Make sure you select add a README file, then create the repository. Now we are going to bring this repository into our EC2 instance. So how do we do that? Is click code, then click this HTTPS connection. So we want to clone this repository into our EC2 instance. Okay. So if you are following through the material, we are just going to skip all these GitHub installation processes. You can always go through it anytime. Okay. So we want to set up our local GitHub repo. The first thing, after you've done your Git version and all that, so you do Git init. So you want to set up your local GitHub repo, and then you can also set up your default branch. So you can say this git config -- global in its default branch. So sometimes Git has you can see different names like main, master, trunk, and all that. So for this, let's just go with the with main, for instance. So we'll do git config global in its default branch main. Okay. So we'll set that up. Then we can continue and now clone that repository into our EC2 instance. So you copy this, then do git remote add origin. Okay. So git remote add origin, then paste this in. Now we've cloned our repository. Okay, someone said you got confused at the GitHub connection with the recording we available. Where did you get confused? You can tell me. So this is actually being streamed directly to YouTube. You can also, at the end of the session, we'll share the link to the YouTube video, and everyone can check. But if you have any questions, you can always ask here as well. So maybe I should go over the GitHub connection again. So the first thing is to create your GitHub account if you don't have one. Once you create your GitHub account, you want to create your GitHub repository. To create your GitHub repository, you would come to click your profile, then click your repositories. Once you click your repositories, you will see, I can just go straight there. So you click your repositories, you click new. Okay, so you click new. So once you click new, you create your repository. You give it a name. You can give it a description. It's a Java web app and all that. Then click add a README file because that's where you're going to write the description for your project. Okay, then you select create repository. So we've already created the repository we want to use in this video. So we'll just be going back to what we've created already. Okay, so we just created this repository. You open that repository. Okay, now before we can clone this repository into our EC2 instance, there are certain things we need to do. The first is you have to install Git on your instance, your EC2 instance, and that is what we did first. So we used this line of code, sudo dnf install git -y to install Git. Then after installing Git, we checked the version of Git we have installed. Then we now initialized Git, okay, to start using it. So you do this Git init. Then the next step is, so you can see initialized empty Git repository. So that is your local repository. So you initialize that local repository. Then I just use this line of code, git config, to set my default branch as main. Okay, so if you come here, you can see branch. So you have main branches. There can be main. Some people can use master. Some people can use trunk. So depending on what you use. So these are just like the basics of understanding Git, GitHub, and version control. Okay, so what we want to do is clone this repository into our EC2 instance. So how do we do that? You use git remote. This is the line of code, git remote, add origin. What is this origin? So you put the link. Where do you get this link from? Once you go into your repository on GitHub, click this code. Okay, you click this code, then you see HTTPS. You copy this URL. So once you copy that URL, you paste it here. So git remote add origin. Once you paste it, then you press enter. You have successfully cloned that repository here. Then you can do what? You can continue with your development. So now, remember, we already have some files present in this repository. We already have our web app files present here. Okay, so just a minute. All right, so we already have our web app files present here. Okay. Olabi, thank you. You're welcome. So we already have our web app files present in our local repository, but when you look at the online repository, there is nothing there. The only thing there is the README file. So we want to push all these files from the local repository. Your local repository, you are the only one that has access to it, but your online repository, everyone can see it. Once they go to your accounts, they can look at the repositories that you have available and the files there. They can choose to fork it and all that. You can collaborate, do pull requests, push requests, and all that. So we need to push these files to the online repository, which is like GitHub, the cloud portion of it. So how do we do that? First, there are some basic GitHub commands that you should be familiar with. You can use git status to look at what files that are present in your local repository that has not been, pushed to your online repository, okay, on GitHub. You can use, so to push this is like a 3-tiered step, although they can be combined together, but let's just go. Yes, it's our EC2 security group SSH and HTTP enabled. We only enabled SSH, we didn't enable HTTP. If you want to enable HTTP, we can always go into our security group and then add the protocol for HTTP. So like I said, this EC2 instance is, let's call it our development environment. We are not yet ready to connect to it online, like make it accessible over the internet, so anyone can access it through the hypertext transfer protocol, which is HTTP. So by the time we get to our production environment, we are going to create another EC2 instance that we'll use to deploy our web app. So this one is just the development aspect of it. So you do git, then do add, then dot, okay? So we want to add these files, this pom.xml and then the src file. We want to push them to GitHub. So you do git commit -m. So m is the message that you want to use to label this particular commit, so that subsequently, as you make changes, you can always add the message to know exactly what that commit was meant for. So you do git commit -m, and then we can type in first commit, okay? In quotation marks, then you do git. So there are certain things that you also need to add to set up your username and all that. So Git has automatically used our EC2 as our username for us. So we can do git push -u origin main, right? So we do, so origin master, I think is master, that is the branch that is being set up. So I'll type in my username. That's Bamishi Omolasho. Now, your password is your personal access token. You cannot type in your password. If you type in your password, it's not going to connect. So you need your personal access token. How do you create your personal access token? I already dropped a link on the WhatsApp page to show you how to create your personal access token. If you've not done it, you can just follow the steps here. So you click on your profile, click on this profile, your profile picture, come to settings, then come down, scroll down to the bottom, go to developer settings. Okay, so once you're in developer settings, you can see personal access tokens. Click this, select tokens classic. So once you have your tokens classic, then you can do generate new token, then generate new token classic. Okay, so okay, I have my passkey set up already.
Please recap. Thank you so much, please.
All right, so we are trying to connect our, we are trying to push our files from our local repository to the online GitHub repository. To do that, you need your username and your password. I have my username here. To use your password, you cannot use your GitHub password. It's not going to connect, okay? GitHub GitHub requires you to use your personal access token. Okay, how do you get your personal access token? You come to, you click your GitHub profile picture or your logo or the icon on this top right corner. You click settings. So once you click settings, at the bottom of the page, you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you see developer settings. You click that developer settings, then you see personal access tokens. Okay. Then you click tokens classic. Then you click generate new token classic. Okay. Then now you can type in the name of the name or description you want to give your personal access token. Generated for EC2 instance access network DevOps project series. Expiration dates can be 30 days, can be more, but 30 days is fine. Your scope, click repo. So this means I want to be able to make changes to my repository. Okay, that is the only access we are giving for now. You can leave the rest unchecked. Okay, then you click generate token. I already have a token open, so I'm not going to generate one. If you don't have one, you can generate one for yourself. It's always best to have at most one or two. You don't need to have many tokens open. And after the expiration limit, GitHub is going to, it's not going to be, you will not be able to use the token anymore. So I'll just click cancel here, and then I'll continue, right? So I already have my personal access token. Now, by the time you type in your personal access token, you can't even type it in, it's quite long. So I'll just advise you copy and paste, okay? When you paste that here, you won't see anything because it's a password, so it's not supposed to be visible. But don't worry, it's there, okay? You just right click and paste, okay? It's there. I've already pasted mine, then I press enter. So now I've been able to push my files from my local repository to my online repository on master. So when we go online and look into my repositories, okay, your repositories, before we saw that it was empty, right? Now we'll open it again and we'll see that it is no longer empty, and we'll see what we've done in it, okay? So like I told you, we have two branches. There's main And now we just created a new branch called master. So we open that master. Now you can see before it was empty. Now remember the commit title I used, first commit. You can see it here. On GitHub, you can also see it here, first commit. So when I make another commit, I can call it second commit, or I can give it any name I want, just for me to be able to track my changes, which is the purpose of GitHub basically. For it's like version control. You can use it to track changes you made to your code, your files over time. Any other person can also see what you've done. Now, apart from checking GitHub, you can also check the changes in VS Code. You just click this, come to this portion here. At the top is Explorer. This is search. Then this is source control. By the time you click this source control, you'll be able to see, what page is this? Okay, maybe because I've not pushed this. I've pushed this already. But ideally on this source control area, it's supposed to show you the files that you just added to your GitHub page. But let's just continue. So the next step is, now that we've set up our GitHub, we've pushed our code to GitHub. We're almost, at the end of the road for this project. So you set up your GitHub token, you've done all the necessary things. So like I explained, if you are using this file, you can always, put in certain information that will come out as part of your project documentation. So we just walked through this. Okay, then we'll continue. So we'll try to make certain changes and see changes that we'll make to our file. So there's another thing we want to look at in our EC2 terminal. Okay, here you can type in git log. You want to see the author and then the name. Initially Git asks us to set up our username and then our email. So instead of having this as the author information, you want it to be your name. So you do git config -- global user.name. Is that correct? Yes. So user.name, and then I can put in my name, Bamichie Omolasho. Then okay, enter, then git config -- global user.email all right. So by the time I type in git log again, I should see it's going to update gradually. So later on, when you type in git log again, you're going to see your name here. Okay, then we'll continue. The next thing we want to do is make changes and then just do another git push again, make a new commit changes. So we'll call it our second commit. So what we simply want to do here is add a line of code to our GSV file. So I can just copy this, add this here. If you see this line in GitHub, that means your latest changes are getting pushed to your cloud repo. Nice. So we just made a change, right? And I said, if you want to know whether you have pending changes that have not been added to your GitHub page, just do git status. Okay. You can see now modified. We just modified this file, so it's in red. Okay. You can do git diff -- staged. Is this the code? Okay. So okay. So you do git add, okay, then git diff -- stage. So this shows what you're about to push, okay, to your online GitHub repository. So after git add, the next is git commit -m, which is our message. So we can call it second commit, or we can say updated GSP file. So you can do updated JSP file. Okay, then enter, then you do git push -u origin main. Oh, sorry, master. Okay, now if you notice, GitHub is asking you to put in your details again. So it's a way to ensure security with your account and then pushing information to your account. Very, very important. So the same thing we did before, my username. Okay, your password, like I explained earlier, is your personal access token. Copy it. So remember, when GitHub shows you your personal access token, you have to save it somewhere because you can only see the personal access token once. Subsequently, you won't be able to see it again. So once you copy that personal access token, make sure you keep it somewhere safe because that's what you'll be using every time until the token expires. If you forgot to save yours, just delete the token and create a new token, but make sure you save it this time around, okay? So I pasted mine, then enter. Okay, I think I didn't paste it correctly. So let me do git push -u origin master. Yes, so I pasted it correctly this time. So now we've made a new change and then we've pushed it to Git. So let's refresh this page and see our new commit. So now you can see before we had first commit, now we have updated.jsp file to show that we've made a change and then we've made a new commit and then we've pushed that to GitHub. So that's the next step that we've done. If anyone doesn't understand so far, you can always ask questions. We're here to answer you. So with this, we have successfully concluded connecting your GitHub account to AWS. This is going to form the foundation for further projects that we are going to do. Because we are working with a free tier account, it is very advisable to always delete your AWS resources so that you don't get charged at the end of the day. Number one, you delete your EC2 instance. Okay, make sure you delete the EC2 instance you created. Once you delete that, I think you are fine. If you want to go ahead to delete your key pair, delete your security groups, delete other things, no problem. But make sure you delete the instance because by the time you exceed the free tier allocation for the month, you are going to get billed. Unless you are ready to pay AWS, you are fine to leave your account. So what we advise you to do is to use this Nextwork opportunity to document your process, okay? Along the way, they give you opportunities to put in information that you can take a screenshot so you can document your process along the way and you'll be able to share this project. So once you are done, at the bottom of the page, you select mission accomplished, okay? And then at this bottom here, you'll see mission accomplished. Once you click it, it's going to ask you to view your documentation. So here I can just click view documentation. I can choose to share it on LinkedIn, or I can choose to download it to my computer, my local computer. So let me just click download documentation and you see everything we've done so far present here. Okay, so I save this. Let me just open this. So this is how your portfolio project will look like. So all the things we did, I didn't make any screenshots today. I've already done this project before, so it's just a walkthrough. So this project took me, how long it took me, my local repository, using GitHub, authentication. So, I mean, it's basically easy. You can just copy this and add it to your portfolio. You can put it on LinkedIn. You can put it on your GitHub account. You can, detail your process in your README file. It's very easy for you. So in our next project, we are going to be handling, so now after you've created all your, created your web app, you've connected your web app to GitHub, because that is the repository where we'll be pulling our code and pushing our code from moving on. The next thing is working with code artifact. So code artifact, what does it do? AWS code artifact. That's the next code in the series. If you look at it, or that's the next step in the series. So code artifact helps you to pull together all your dependencies. All this, we downloaded Apache Maven from the web. All the dependencies you will need to deploy your code, you are getting it from different places, but you need all of them to be in one central location. And that is where your code artifact comes in. And with code artifacts in place, you can use it to, you can always have a backup for your dependencies, such that if let's say all of those dependencies are no longer available online for people to download, you will still have it in your code artifact, and you can always work with it from there, and it will prevent your app from coming down or you having server failures and all that. So that's the next step in the series. I don't know if we have any questions that we can address from today's projects. If you have any challenges, you can always post on our WhatsApp group chat, and then anyone there who understands what you need can always respond to you. You can also go to Nextwork community page if you have any issue, create an account. You can post your documentation on Nextwork. There are people there that would, let's check the Nextwork community. So there are people there that will respond to you. If you have a question, okay, you need the WhatsApp group link. Someone will share it there shortly. Kemisola will share it there shortly. Okay, so this is the Nextwork community page. You can post your questions, you can chat with people, you can check up projects, you can stay up to date with upcoming projects. They are usually done live, all that. So that's for today. We appreciate everyone for joining in and staying through the course of this presentation. I don't know if anyone has questions. Okay, we share the community link as well. Let me try and get it immediately. Okay. So this is so this is the Nextwork community link, and then this is the link to our WhatsApp group. Okay, so they are all available in the chat box. All right. If we don't have further questions, I think we have come to a good point to close for today. Yes, it's this group that we worked on a project. I think, yeah, it was 15th of December. Yes, we did. We only set up a web app that day, but today we set up the web app and then we connected the web app from our EC2 instance to AWS. So that's from a question from the chat box. All right. So we hope we've all learned something today, and we look forward to our upcoming project. We also have an opportunity, if you are still on the call, we have an opportunity for people to join our team. If you are proficient with community management, social media management, graphics design, we are looking forward to having our first physical event, probably in this first quarter of the year, where we'll have a physical event, we'll have a meetup, and then we need people to support us and also volunteer their time to work with us and keep our group lively and also help us plan towards this project. It will be a very good opportunity for you to connect Okay, I'll share the videos for 15th and then also share that of today. So if you're looking to work with us, we'll also post more information about this on our group chat. So if you're looking to work with us, you can reach out to me directly on WhatsApp or Kemisola directly on WhatsApp. We'd like to work with you, you'd like to work with us. And then for next month, if you are interested in hosting this video, you want to be the one teaching, explaining these concepts to people, you can always reach out to us. We can work on planning it such a way that you can present and then also share information to these people. We already have the project portfolio or the project steps, present. You just need to follow step by step to know what to do. It's a great way to showcase your knowledge, help you in your forthcoming interviews that you've held a session like this, and we are open to everyone. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. If we don't have any questions, we'll be closing the session. We really appreciate every one of us, all 18 or 20 of us that were here today. I remain Bamisha Mulasho, and this is all because of Nextwork and the amazing leaders in Nextwork. Thank you so much, guys.